You set your alarm for 6 a.m. You've got a plan. Meal prepped on Sunday, gym bag packed, calorie deficit locked in. And you are committed this time. You wake up, you go, you eat clean all week, you're doing everything right. But the scale doesn't move, or it moves half a pound, then bounces back. And you're sitting there at the end of the week, genuinely confused, and honestly, a little defeated, wondering what you're even missing. Here's what nobody told you. And I mean nobody. Not your fitness app, not your trainer, not the calorie counting subreddit. Your body has a literal biological override switch that can shut down fat burning entirely, and you are probably flipping it every single night without knowing it. That switch is sleep. Specifically, the hormones that sleep controls. And once you understand the actual hormone math here, you're going to look at everything differently. Let me start with a stat that genuinely stopped me when I first came across it. A study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine found that when people were on a calorie-restricted diet, the group that slept only 5.5 hours per night lost 55% less fat than the group sleeping 8.5 hours on the exact same diet. Same calories, same deficit. One group lost almost twice as much fat as the other. The only variable was sleep, 55% less fat, on the same diet. That is not a small difference. That is the difference between succeeding and feeling like your body is broken. So what's actually happening? Because I don't want to just throw a scary number at you and leave. I want you to understand the mechanism, because once you get it, it's impossible to unget it. Let's talk about two hormones, ghrelin and leptin. These are your hunger hormones, and sleep controls both of them directly. Ghrelin is the hormone that tells you you're hungry. When ghrelin goes up, you feel that gnawing, relentless, I need to eat right now signal. Leptin is the hormone that tells you you're full. When leptin is working properly, your brain gets the stop eating signal and you put the fork down. Here's what one bad night of sleep does to both of those. A study from Stanford University found that just one night of poor sleep increased ghrelin by 14.9% and decreased leptin by 15.5% in the same night. So your hunger signal spikes and your fullness signal tanks simultaneously. Think about what that means in practice. You wake up already hormonally wired to be hungrier than normal, less satisfied by whatever you eat, and craving specifically high-calorie, high-sugar foods because sleep deprivation also increases your appetite for quick energy. Your brain is looking for glucose. Fast. And this is where it gets really uncomfortable, because most people in this situation blame themselves. They chalk it up to willpower, to discipline, to not being cut out for this. When in reality, their hormones are running a program they never consented to. It's not a character flaw. It's biology doing exactly what it was designed to do when it thinks you're under threat. Think of it this way. When you don't sleep, your body interprets that as a survival signal. Animals don't skip sleep for fun. In nature, if something is keeping you awake, it's dangerous. So your body shifts into a mode designed for short-term survival. Hold on to stored energy, increase hunger to find food, and deprioritize long-term fat burning. Your metabolism is not broken. It's doing its job for the wrong environment. Now let's bring in the third hormone, because this one is the one that really seals it. Cortisol. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone, and when you're sleep-deprived, cortisol levels rise significantly. A study from the University of Chicago found that sleep deprivation increased cortisol levels in the afternoon and evening, the same time of day when most people are trying to stay on track with their diet. Elevated cortisol tells your body to break down muscle for energy and to store fat, particularly around your midsection. It also further disrupts insulin sensitivity, which means the food you're eating is more likely to be stored as fat than used as fuel. If you've made it this far, you're exactly who this channel is for. A subscribe helps me keep making these. No pressure, but I appreciate it. So let me give you the full picture. You're sleep deprived. Ghrelin is up. You're hungrier than you should be. Leptin is down. Nothing satisfies you. Cortisol is elevated. Your body is in fat storage mode and breaking down muscle. And your brain is specifically craving sugar and processed carbs to compensate for the energy deficit your poor sleep created. And then you try to white-knuckle through a calorie deficit on top of all of that. And when you fail, because that's a biochemically stacked deck, you blame yourself. That's the part that gets me every time. People are fighting their own hormones with willpower and calling it a character flaw when willpower loses. Willpower was never going to win that fight. Not consistently. Look, I want to be real with you. You can have the perfect diet. You can have the perfect training program. But if your sleep is broken, you are running uphill in sand. The returns on everything else you do get cut dramatically. A 2010 study published in Sleep Journal found that inadequate sleep was directly associated with increased obesity risk, and the relationship wasn't just about eating more. The hormonal disruption alone changes how your body processes and stores the same food. So what do you actually do about this? Because I'm not here to just make you feel bad about your 6-hour nights. I want you to leave here with something actionable. First, and this is the unsexy truth, sleep needs to become a non-negotiable, not something you optimize last after everything else is handled. Right now, you are probably treating sleep the way most people do, as the thing that gets cut when life gets busy. That has to flip. Sleep is the foundation that every other health habit sits on. When sleep is solid, your hormones cooperate, your hunger is regulated, your recovery happens, and the calorie deficit you're running actually does what it's supposed to do. Practically, this means anchoring your bedtime the same way you anchor your workout. You don't decide at 11 p.m. whether you're going to the gym in the morning. You decided that days ago. Your sleep should work the same way. Pick a bedtime window and protect it like an appointment you cannot cancel. Second, the 90-minute rule. Avoid screens and bright light for 90 minutes before bed. This isn't new information, but I want to explain why it actually matters beyond just blue light bad. Your brain releases melatonin in response to darkness, and melatonin is not just a sleep signal. It actively supports the hormonal cleanup process that happens during deep sleep. When you stay on your phone until midnight, you're not just making it harder to fall asleep. You're shortening the hormonal reset window that your body needs to recalibrate ghrelin and leptin for the next day. Third, temperature. Your body drops its core temperature to initiate deep sleep. Research from the University of Texas found that a room temperature between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit is optimal for the kind of deep, restorative sleep where growth hormone is released and fat oxidation happens. Growth hormone, by the way, is one of the most powerful fat-burning hormones your body produces, and it is released almost entirely during deep sleep. If your room is too warm, you get less deep sleep, less growth hormone, and less overnight fat oxidation. A simple thing. Here's the part I want you to sit with before you close out of this video. You have probably been hard on yourself about your body, your discipline, your consistency. And some of that pressure is fair. You do have to show up and do the work. But if you have been consistently sleeping under 7 hours, you have been playing a game with one hand tied behind your back and wondering why you're losing. The research is not subtle. Sleep is not a passive activity. It is when your body runs its hormonal maintenance, resets your hunger signals, burns fat through overnight processes, and repairs the tissue you broke down in the gym. It is active work. It just happens without your conscious effort, which is exactly why people undervalue it. Start tonight. Not Monday. Not next week. Tonight, set a bedtime alarm, not just a wake-up alarm. Give yourself a target of 7 to 9 hours. Cool the room down. Put the phone away earlier than you think you need to. And just try it for a week. Compare how you feel, how your hunger sits, how your training goes, how the scale responds, because your body wants to burn fat. It is designed to. You just have to stop giving it reasons to hold on.